All right. Welcome back. Week 14, Dirty 30 pod. We got a big week, boys. Lot on the line. Ugly Thursday night game, right? But
So
we
bad.
we got a lot on the line.
The best way to kick off a big week. Just a shitty ass game.
I'm
Yeah,
sure you guys know this. Do you guys know the over under for tonight's game?
I do know it. Yeah.
I'm happy I don't know, but I'm
Oh,
intrigued.
Christian informed Devin.
Over under 30 and a half.
Woo! Woo!
17. I think, yeah, because I think they're predicting like 18 to 12 Steelers, over the pass. I think the spread's like 5 or 6, but
Yeah, man.
There was a game like last week where they were giving it shit because it was like 33. And this is even worse. That's insane.
I think it's the lowest since like 1994 or some shit I heard. So yeah, it's going to be ugly,
Yeah.
but it's football and there's things on the line, right? There's certainly things on the line. So we're going to talk through studs and duds. We're going to talk through our matchups and kind of like, hey, how different things can kind of play out this week because there's still kind of three teams looking at the playoff situation here and buys on the line and things along those lines. Debbie hopefully playing upset. We're going to talk through some bench players and then look ahead a little bit towards next year. I did like a little keeper list and kind of if I ran your team, this would be the keepers that I choose. So it's always kind of fun to look at here. So studs and duds of last week. Christian, who you got, buddy?
yeah. There were actually a lot of studs. I was between a few. I try not to pick anyone on my team, but I had a couple guys go off, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to somebody that stepped up in a big way after one of the teammates went down, and Nico Collins for 29.6. Nico Collins is good, but I didn't think he was like that good. Like, I mean, he was balling. I mean, I know that game was, it was a good game, but he just went off, straight went off.
Yeah. They'd go to red zone. He'd have like another 40-yard like bomb.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy, man.
He had like 100 yards in the first like 6 minutes of the day. I was like, what is going on here?
Why was Tank in on that run on the goal line? Like, why was he there?
Yeah.
I feel like that injury could have been avoided.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I played against Collins last week. Yeah, for sure, man. I played against Collins last week. I was just hoping he stayed out of the end zone. He did not. He is a stud of the week for sure.
Yeah.
Dud of the week, buddy.
Dud of the week. I'm going a guy on my favorite team, Jalen Waddle. I was just really disappointed. Like, he got 7.7. I'm like waiting for the week that Waddle's gonna like pop off because it's gonna happen. I mean,
this is the week.
Yeah. Well, I thought last week was the week. And if you told me Miami scored 45 points, I would have been like, Waddle for sure had a touchdown or did something. But yeah, he had like 5 catches for 50 yards. It was just not that good. So it's tough to overcome like Tyreek's production. But I mean, I think Waddle's pop week is coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. Maybe this week.
For sure. Debbie, stud of the week, dud of the week last week.
It'll be this week. Trust me. I know people.
Okay.
Stud of the week all the way back to Thursday. We thought, Thursday night games are boring. Not so much on this one. Big old shootout. DK Metcalf had 6 catches, 134 yards, and the old hat trick for 34.4 points.
Yeah.
Beasted it up.
That was truly a sight to see. And he went off. Like,
I never mind throwing in a stud that goes off like that against the stupid ass Cowboys because I hate them so much. So that was a dud of the week. Is this even fair to pick a guy that puts up 0 points? I don't know.
He classifies as a dud. For sure.
Brutal. Terry McLaurin, 3 targets, no catches, no yards.
Really?
I don't know if you caught after the game they were interviewing him. Did you hear about this? And they're like, oh, what's going on? Or like, what did you think of that? No catches, no yards or whatever. And he's like, yeah, it happens, but like I ran a lot of cardio, so that's good.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know the 3 targets. Like Terry McLaurin, I just
he had
expect
3.
like 8. You know,
When they're down, they were down like 20 to 30 the whole game. So it's like,
no,
you know,
That's
what do
that's
you
the
do?
amazing part. They're passing the whole game because they're down by so much, and only
Yeah.
3 targets, but like no catches at all was pretty dud like. So
yeah, for sure, man. My dud of the week last week, I think I have the same guy from the week before, Austin Eckler, 3.7 points.
It's getting to be pretty rough.
Just weird talk of like Josh Kelly like being more involved this week.
that was I saw your thing on Twitter, Christian.
Yes.
What
Dude,
what are we doing here? Is that your answer? Like,
yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't know how you can look at Eckler, look at all he's done over the last 5 years, and be like, yeah, Josh Kelly though he deserves more touches.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at the point where like he's got to be hurt, right? Like he's got to be like something's going on, man.
I think Staley's just that dumb. I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, you're not wrong. I mean, my stud of the week, Joe Mixon.
great.
The old
stud of the week call.
LVP at half point. I got some stats for you here, Dev.
Love it. I want to hear him.
Devin called him the LVP week 8. He was RB 23.
Ooh.
Where's he at right now, you think, as far as RBs?
12.
Christian, what guess?
I mean, after that week, I know he's had 2 good weeks back to back. I would guess RB. Yeah, I think RB 12 is a good pick. I would go RB 12 as well.
He is now RB 8.
I was wondering. I was going to ask if he was top 10 or not, but I didn't think he was.
He's had a shit ton of touchdowns, right? Like he probably put like 5 or 6 in since we've called him the LVP, and I'm sure that's it, right? But
he watches the podcast.
he might. Jake Browning had me a little worried, right? Maybe this offense turns to shit, and for 1 week it didn't happen. That was another fun game to watch last week. That was a good time.
Yeah, it was.
Waivers we're not really going to hit. The point I wanted to say was like, hey, throughout playoffs, right, people are going to pick up players, right? Whether you're in the playoffs or whether you're in the toilet bowl, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And let's not get pissed off about it, right? Because like people are going for the championship and people are like trying to.
I have zero fab, so you only got.
I have $1 left tonight.
There you go. I think I got 2. So you won't hear from us, but I just don't want it. I just don't want to hear it in the group chat either. So just wanted to throw that out there. Matchups. We got big matchups this week. We're kind of locked in. I think Tanner and Kyle are locked in 1-2. They can switch, right? I think Tanner's 1 right now, and they could switch. Christian's kind of locked in at the 3rd. Me and Marcus will eventually play each other playoffs in the 4 or 5. But the 6th seed is up for grabs, man. And they play each other, right? Eric, Craig, Tyler all have a chance. Eric, the 6th seed, gets to play Tyler, the 8th seed, right? So that's some interesting stuff going on. Craig, the 7, plays Derek, the 9. So Eric kind of holds his own fate. If he wins, he's in. I think I'm doing my math right here. If Craig wins and Eric loses, Craig is in. And if Tyler wins and Craig loses, Tyler's in. I think ESPN gives them all kind of like a shot, right? I think like Eric has like 50% and Craig's got like 40 and Tyler's got like 30. And I know I didn't do my math right there, but like something like that, it's kind of fun, man. So yeah, good matchups all around. Will be interesting stuff for sure. So
yeah, I don't know. Cause like being in the 3 seed, like I'm obviously going to play one of those 3 guys. And I don't know who I would want to play. Like they all have good squads. Like Craig, I feel like his team has been underperforming a little bit.
It has,
but I don't want to play against McCaffrey. I also don't want to play against Eckler if they do figure it out,
Yep.
But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Tyler's got a good team too, so
they all got like players, right? Like Tyler just put up like 160 against me last week.
Yeah.
Right? So like it's doable. And it's up to Tyler to keep Eric in the losing bracket, man. Right? Like Eric needs to go back to back to back, in my opinion.
Right.
That is true.
Little extra pressure going on here. Bench players who outscored this week. I'm going right after the matchup, right? I'm going after Eric here, and was really surprised that he didn't have Jalen Warren playing this Thursday night game. Najee a little banged up, and maybe he's switched since I've looked. Najee a little banged up. I know it's a low over under. He didn't really do much last week. I just think Jalen Warren's the best player on the field.
He does have Hopkins still in.
Okay, so I got Jalen Warren over Hopkins.
He wants that Monday night juice.
Which I get that, right? I do. I think I understand that. I just think Jalen Warren, like, I don't know, is good for like 12 points tonight, and if he punches one in, he's good for closer to 20. So Jalen Warren over Hopkins is my bench player to outscore this week.
I love it.
Debbie, who you got, buddy?
I almost thought about going back to pick on Tyler again and do the Jalen Reed thing experiment again. But your brother hit me up last week. He needed help. So I helped him out. And he said, Hopkins or Cup? And I was like, okay, I'm rolling Hopkins. Hopkins did better, had a good game. He's like, that was a good call. I'm like, yeah, that was a good call, wasn't it? I'm going after Cup again.
Yeah, man.
The Dubs, Romeo over Cooper Cup, which is just crazy talk.
Yeah.
I like it only because I think the weather in the Baltimore game is supposed to be like
crazy.
A torrential fuck fest. Like,
is it really?
Yeah. It's like 30 mile an hour winds plus rain. Yeah.
Oh, well, all right then. Well,
yeah. It's one to keep your eyes on for sure. Yeah, and Cup's probably another guy who's like also just hurt, right?
Yeah, he just
gotta be. So
they're not figuring it out. But he's a guy who can get things done if needed. But
yeah, for sure. Christian, give us your bench player. Give us your betting lock of the week, man. Let's get this bad boy moving.
I think this one may surprise some people, just because you don't really think about plugging a tight end into your flex to play two tight ends. But I like Kincaid over Chuba Hubbard for Rhodey. I think Hubbard had a great game last week. He had a great game the week before. He's like, I understand like the appeal behind Hubbard right now, but they still suck. Like they're still the Panthers. They still suck. Kincaid is still like, in my opinion, the number 2 target there in Buffalo. And that's going to be a really good game. Like I know KC didn't look very good against the Packers, but like KC is going to figure it out. They need to. They're kind of coming down to the wire at the end of the year, trying to fight for that, bye in the 1 seed, and Buffalo's trying to scrape in to get in the playoffs. I mean, I think Kincaid is a better and safer play than kind of risking it on 20 carries for Hubbard when, I think the game will be close because it's a division game and the Saints aren't that good either, but like the Saints are good on D. So I'm just going to lean going Kincaid over Hubbard, but kind of leads into my next point for betting lock of the week.
Okay.
Betting lock of the week. It was tough, but I just can't. So I have a golden rule of betting, and it honestly is, honest to God, is like 90%. It happens damn near every time. Anytime you can get Patrick Mahomes by less than a field goal or better, you take him. You just do. Because think of like Patrick Mahomes' career win percentage, right? I mean, his career win percentage got to be what, 70 to 80%.
Yeah.
And how many, I mean, realistically, maybe, I mean, less than 5 times, I bet you those games, he won by less than a field goal. I don't know exactly, but I do know that over his 6 years as a starter, he has only lost 2 times in a row, 3 different times in his entire career, which is kind of crazy that the Chiefs have only lost back-to-back games 3 times. So I think they had their fuck up against Green Bay. They're back home. I think it'll be a good game. They're going to need to score some points.
Oh, yeah.
I think KC, I'm taking them -1.5.
They're Buffalo?
Buffalo.
Kansas City, Buffalo, right?
Yes. Kansas City's at home versus Buffalo.
Nice.
I'm
I
taking
dig
KC minus 1.5 at home against Buffalo. So we'll see.
I dig it, buddy. You've been on a little heater too, so
Yeah.
we'll keep it in mind. We'll keep going after it. We're gonna share our screen here, kind of transition into next year a little bit. I think I did this last year, right? Kind of a little fun exercise looking into keepers for next year, potential keepers, right? Hey, I quick kind of comb through everyone's team, right? Kind of look through. I'm sure I missed someone, right?
Oh, totally. I'm gonna hound you.
I'll get some feedback, right? I'm sure I missed someone. But yeah, first little bulletin is kind of where the keeper's at. And the second bulletin is kind of like, hey, like this is where I see them going in next year's draft, right? If they were available, right? The kind of their round that they're kind of going in. So I kind of talk through some keepers, right? And it just kind of shows value in my mind, right? The first one we're looking at, ARSB, right? He's a 7th-round keeper. I think he's a back of the first round like player next year, right? So like that's significant value, right? Maybe 2nd-round player next year,
Sure.
right? Whatever you kind of want to look at, but he is a significant value, right? It's Deb's team. I got him keeping ARSB. He traded for Garrett Wilson, who's a 12th-round player. I think he goes in the 3rd round, right? We'll get some Aaron Rodgers hype again. So that's kind of another significant value. And then Ramondre was his honorable mention, right? I don't think I'm going to go through everyone's team. I think that's too many players. I think I'm just going to kind of open up the floor and just kind of talk about like, hey, what stood out, right? Or what questions do you kind of have?
The second number makes sense now. I was curious what
Gotcha.
What the hell that was.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll run through Christian's team since we got Christian on here, right? HN. He is a 11th round keeper. He is at the very least going into 3rd round next year, right? Depends if Mostert comes back, right? Depends how he ends up this year, right? 3rd round is probably generous, right? But that's significant value, and I think that's his keeper for sure. Christian Kirk was kind of the 2nd keeper that I found on your team, but probably not being kept, right? We'll maybe make a trade, right? Or we'll do something, but Kirk is 8th rounder. I thought maybe he goes in about the 5th round next year, and then James Conner was kind of the honorable mention, right? So yeah, what stood out, man? Debbie, you got any? I sent this to you guys at some point this week. You got any questions? Anything that kind of stood out? That
I got a couple. List? Sure. I said I was gonna get after you. You're missing someone. No Kincaid. I think that was
I'm with you.
Right up. We don't have to talk about him again, but
I'm with you. Yeah, Kincaid.
Not that I hate Kyle's other keepers, but
yeah. I'm with you, right? But I think Pacheco was like a lock. I think Kyren,
for sure.
If I ran his team, I think I would keep Pacheco in the 6th, and I think I would keep Kyren in the 5th, and throw Kincaid back.
Don't hate it.
Keeping a tight end is difficult for me.
We're on the same page. I just
right? It is. I don't think it's wrong, right? I just think he has a lot of good running back options. But no, I get it, man. I get it. People are going to come at my list.
What else was I going to say? I think it just kind of there's a lot of good keepers, and we've talked about all the good keepers and everything.
There's a lot of dog shit keepers too.
I was just gonna say, I was just gonna interject too. I think this is, and obviously, players drop off every year for how many you can keep them. Yeah. This is not a very appealing list of keepers, in my opinion. Like, I'm looking at every team's keepers, and I'm like, they have one guy I would feel good about keeping. I don't think there's one guy, maybe Marcus, with how well Devontae's playing lately.
I think Marcus, Kyle, and Tanner's team kind of stand out to me.
Monty and Olave are fine. I like Devon's,
and Dev, yes, and Dev.
Yeah, if Wilson can come back and get a quarterback, hopefully Rodgers, hopefully not Rodgers, but
No,
I
there
don't know. Yeah,
there
I mean,
will be trades to be made this year.
like Tua. No offense, I like Tua, but like Keaton Mitchell, like what the fuck are we doing? You know, like
What-
Jacoby Myers might be like my T Higgins. Like
Yeah.
I hated the T Higgins keeper
Yeah.
idea.
So
When it,
here's my point, right? We're
Mhm.
talking about Craig's team. I think Craig is in a very interesting situation, right? Where he traded away Ken Walker, he traded away Laporta for a chance to get into the playoffs. Now he may not get in, right?
yeah.
And he might only have one keeper going into next year if his team doesn't perform.
I love Sutton. Sutton
It's all interesting, man.
Sutton is so consistent. He's so consistent.
He is. He is.
I mean,
is he a great keeper? Right? Probably not. Right? but
sure.
but I'm with you, man. Debbie,
Yeah.
sorry, we're talking through.
No, it's all good.
What's your other point?
No, that was good. I was gonna say too that, you know, we were talking about, you know, the teams that stand out too. Derek's team kind of does stand out too with his keepers.
He's got some good ones.
How long, you know, Evans in the fourth, you know, how long do we keep letting him slip by? That's really not a terrible keeper. It is high up there, fourth round keeper, you know.
Yeah.
But goddamn. But speaking of the fourth round, what I was gonna say earlier was a couple guys that keep going on under the radar, I think, kind of, and they're both honorable mentions, is JT and Kamara in the fourth round. Which in my other leagues, you know, they were discounts this year, and I was grabbing them everywhere in my other leagues, you know, which was nice. And I do like that their first, second round calibers, you know, in the fourth round, really not that bad. So
yeah,
there's targets out there for people that need keepers or want keepers, you know.
Yeah, I want JT or Kamara. I want one of them.
I know, right?
Kamara's up for sale, man. He's we'll talk in the offseason. So
we will have to.
That kind of leads into my next point, right? My next point is the league's getting smart, right? There is no round one, no round two, no round three keepers. At earliest round four, they're both honorable mentions. I think they'll both get kept, right? Kamara and Taylor, but yeah, Josh Jacobs, right? Like all those kind of fourth round running backs, I think will all be kept. But yeah, that was kind of one of my points that kind of stood out too. Was like there's no more like, you know, Christian McCaffrey being kept or anything like that. So cool. Christian, anything stand out? Any questions?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think overall I think it's like an above average keeper year, maybe average. Like I don't think there's like crazy Jamar Chase type keepers, you know, like I don't see one guy on this list where I'm like, oh my God, like he's the clear cut number one keeper like Jamar Chase was, you know.
Yeah.
That makes it more fun too. So, you know, I like it. I'm excited to see what people do. I'm very curious to see the trades in the offseason for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild off season, I think.
I'm with you. Yeah, I think that all makes a lot of sense to me too. Agreed. Right. I think like, yeah, the last thing that kind of stood out to me was like keepers like, you know, Madison and Pierce and Dotson and like Amari Cooper. And I'm sure I'm missing people like are for sure being thrown back, right? Along with the guys that are like ETN, who has to be thrown back, Chase, who has to be thrown back, and Waddle. So
right.
Yeah, all kind of interesting. It was hard. It was a hard list to make, right? That's for sure. Like you kind of stare at a couple teams and be like, "Gosh, I guess I would keep these guys."
It's a good list.
And then you stare at some teams where it's like, "Oh yeah, like it's hard to like stop at three, right?" So yeah, all interesting stuff, man. So good stuff. Yeah, let's get after it. Let's go watch that boring ass Thursday night football game. So,
or selling something.
All right, guys, later.